All right, so we've gone over Substance Painter. We've gone over how models work. We've made this texture for your homework. So let's find out how we can use this texture or actually practically use Substance Painter in the first place, and then we'll play with the texture on it too. So we're going to make two for your homework. You're going to make two versions of this wood plank I'm going to show you. And we'll get into the importance of the special parts inside of Substance Painter, masks being the key thing. So we've got our texture, and let's say I've made a 3D plank real quick, just a simple object. It's unwrapped beautifully, or well, and we're going to texture this. I sent out with this homework, you've got also a UV map, so you can see how it's laid out. They've got the two planks, top and bottom. Then you've got the sides and the front and back. Okay, so those are all there. Those are all in your homework. Let's open up Substance Painter. After you've downloaded it, it's pretty simple to download. And when you open it, though, you may see something like this, because I don't change this for my for the purposes of this class. Actually, it comes up with this error. That means you want to go inside of your settings and your computer settings and change some stuff. You can get away without it. For this part of the homework, it's fine to not do it. Your registry settings are something you want to make sure that you're going to use this a lot. It makes a difference. Basically, this just stops Windows from thinking it's crashed if it takes longer than the allotted time Windows tells it should have before a computer program crashes. Not a big deal. I'm going to go close or open it anyway, and we'll pull this in here. So I've shown you Substance Painter. I've shown you the interface and stuff and the 2D, 3D. I'm just going to go new, and I'm going to say select, and I'm going to say that plank that's in your homework, and we're going to say OK. The first thing you have to do when you bring anything into Substance Painter is do what's called a bake. What a bake does is it tells the computer where all the edges of the object are and where all the height information and if there's normals on it. And it gets more complicated than that, but you just want to do this the first thing every time you bring it in. Sometimes you'll be using it in different ways, but every time you bring it in, this is what you want to do. So you're going to come in here, you're going to say bake mesh, and it's this first drop down we talked about, and you're going to turn off ID because we don't need that, and you're just going to say default. And that's it. It takes a few seconds for this homework piece especially, but it comes up with a bunch of maps. And those maps are your normal, which we don't have. We can build a normal from a higher res one. Our world space normal, same thing. Ambient occlusion, it shows with the normal information. It can tell you if there's divots and stuff and how there's built shadows in there. Curvature tells you where there's softer edges and harder edges. Position tells you what's up and down. For the computer to know if they're going to make something like Mosker from the ground, this helps it know where the top and the bottom of the object is. And thickness just helps it define how transparent it's going to be in some more advanced textures. So it's good to do that in the beginning, just because you should get used to doing that. And then the thing that I always do when I set mine up, and yours may look different, is you can close any of these anytime you want. And the way I've set it up, because I have the monitor set up the way I do, is I just take this one and then I'll drag it until I get it to open up to that area like this. So now I've got that set up. And then the other one that I really want to see is this layer one. Just like in Photoshop, you want to see those layers. So I'll click it to open it and then drag it there. I like to have this one in front. You can leave it any way you want. A lot of people take the menu systems. They take this one and they put it down here at the bottom, which may be how it defaulted to you. We'll just do that for now. This is, as I've gone through, is a bunch of different stuff inside of here. But by default, this is all we see. And if we look at the materials menu, you can come down, and yours doesn't have as many as mine, but you're going to see that there's wood rough and wood this, and if you just click that and drag it onto the object, you're going to get a wood plank. Now this is a good start and good to see what it looks like, and it's got a bunch of the information, height, color, and roughness. But the big thing that I have a problem with the way this is set up is it doesn't cover the ends the same way, meaning that it's using that same map across all the edges of the object. If you open up the 2D aspect of it, so 2D, 3D, I don't want to push F1 because the recording software actually has a different shortcut for that, so I'm just going to click up here, plus it's easier for you to see. Now if I push F for full frame, you'll see that it has this texture on the top, the same texture all the way through, and it's just putting it on the object in different areas exactly the same though. So it's the same texture, it just goes all the way down. So if you looked at this, you would see it would go through there. The reason this one's darker is because it's underneath. Like we can change the lighting in this and change how everything lights up on the background there. So if we wanted to make these different, we would have to do that in a couple ways. Or we could do that in a couple ways. We could use the same texture. We could find a new texture. We could, do something. Let's just use the same texture. So for us to make it not show the exact same look or continuity over this whole thing, we probably want to change the way these textures, the side textures and the front textures are being defined. So what we're going to do is first we're going to say mask. And this mask button up here means that anything in the white is shown on the object, anything in the black is not. So we're going to click on that and we're going to say white because we want everything at this point. Then this has a really cool tool that if you come over here to the side, you'll see it says projection. And we actually want this one, I'm sorry, polygon fill. If you click on polygon fill, all of a sudden everything's got this red on it and it's got this black and white and it's defaulted to white. And if you push X, just like in Photoshop, it inverts the color. So if you look over here, you'll see these all have it that way too. If I click on this button, any one of these, it's going to fill that whole object with black, meaning that it's not going to show that color underneath anymore. But what I really want is the whole section that is selected. So because if I do this right here, you'll see that it doesn't get all these other edges. So you know what? In fact, maybe that's even better. Let's just do it that way. Let's do this one and this one. And then we'll scoot over by middle mouse dragging in this one and this one. So now we have different textures on the sides of our thing. So how do we use the same texture? We're going to copy by Alt and dragging it up, and there's a duplicate of the object now. And what we can do is we don't want to actually use these two and these two as the same either, because this is, if you look at the top of the board, it goes striping like this. So you would see more stripes on the ends, and then on the sides you'd see longer stripes. So they would look a little bit differently, and you could even have some of the other ring information. So we're just going to take and look at this texture back here again real quick. And what we'll do is we'll select this, and we will say remove mask. I always lose where that is because it's different in so many other places. And I'm going to say black mask this time, so it's not showing up anywhere. We still have gray, right? And I'm going to take that same option that I had now, make sure it's set to white, and click on it again. Here, here, and here. But then I'm going to go to black. Oh, actually it is already doing black. So now I've got this stuff on the sides here, and if I turned off this, you'd see, it looks like, actually I have this already here. Clicked on that one by accident there. So if you'll see that only the textures are only showing up on the sides of these objects. Okay, so pretty good. This one I'm not horribly hating. I just want to make it lighter, so we'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to go back up to painting now. And inside of painting, I'm going to change a couple things, and we're going to look at it. I really need to have two different layers, one for the top and for the edge, top and bottom, and then one for the sides. So I'm going to duplicate this one more time. And then we're going to call this one top, bottom, like that. And we're going to call this one sides. Okay, we're going to hide, let's say hide the sides for now, and we'll come up to the top, bottom. And we're going to go back to that polygon fill button, and we're going to now use the black and get rid of the selections over here. So we're going to click this one and this one, because this is the top and the bottom, right? These are the two areas that we really care about. So that said, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these. So you don't only have to click on them, you could also just grab them like with a selection area, like that. Okay, and you'll see that some of this, the way I unwrapped it, doesn't work exactly the way we may want, but it's okay. This is just getting used to the program. Okay, so the problem with this is these are going horizontally when we probably want them vertical. How do we fix that problem? If we come over to the texture, not the mask, this is the mask, this is the texture, and we rotate it, let's say 90 degrees. We can type it in right here, 90. You'll see now it's going vertical on both sides. Now if we turn this back on here for the wood, we can even, if we really wanted to, see if we can get these to line up. How do we do that? We just keep dragging them around until we get them close. We could do it that way, or we could even, you know, let me see. This may be the easiest way for this point to do it. Like, if we can find the exact layout, it would be great. We could come up here to where its edge is hitting, and see now, because I'm using this part of the texture. Okay, so let me show you something. So when I'm in here, this, when I rotated it, actually rotated the whole picture, the frame, right? So I'm going to go back to 90 here, like that for rotation, so it doesn't look any different. But it also, even though it doesn't show it, it's also telling me where on the object the texture is. So if I know that this is the edges of the boards, then I probably want to have these close to this point down here. So if I move this up, you'll see that I get something closer. It may need to be inverted too. There we go. Something closer to what it should look like. But it's still too bright. Okay, and we'll get back to that. And how are we going to make it less bright? Well, the cool thing about this is it's just like Photoshop in some ways. We can change it just like we did the other ones to do an overlay, for example. We could try that, and that's too yucky. So we're going to say, and that's a technical term, so don't use it. Let's say lighten. Let's see if that works any better. It's okay. It looks like it's the same fresh cut, I guess, but I'm, you know, probably want to do something else. So we could do some more stuff to this, and you can be welcome to just play around with it and see if you can get something you like. And oh, the other thing is that we talked about is this is all in base color right here. So whenever I change anything over here, it's only changing it for the color layer, which is this right here. That's fine. That's what we're looking for. So what else could we do? We could do an overlay on top of it. So just like Photoshop, we can make folders. So if we take a folder like this, and then we throw this in the folder, so now it's in the folder. If I turn that folder off, it turns off that edge. We can also now come in and do another fill on top of that. So it's a fill. It's just filling it with a bland texture. You can see that since it has no information on the normals or heights or anything, it's going to keep that information that we have there. If we take this and then we say, make this red, like this, let's make it yellow, brighter orange yellow, something like that. There you go. And then we change this to overlay. And then we turn this back to standard, normal. Okay. And then we need to take this map so we can, it's a little bit pain in the behind. It's not like Photoshop, we can just drag it, but you can copy this mask information. Then you have to come up here and create a new mask, so black mask in this case. And then we're going to right click again and say paste into mask. And then you'll get your mask painted in there. And then we get something closer to that, which may or may not be what we want. We could even do, you know, more work like that. We can do some other modifiers, but I'm trying to keep it simple. So screen, we could try that. That's a little bit bright, but the cool thing is, if we turn this way down, maybe we can get something right where we want it to be. F again to center. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this mode and take a look. And it's a little bit better. It's not perfect. Again, we're just doing this at the first time here for you guys to get used to it. The other thing is, I do think I like the overlay a little bit. Nah, let's try. I wish they also had the down option, and I think, oh, they do now. Thank goodness. Somebody told them. Overlay was too strong. This, and we're just doing a solid color at this point, as you can tell. So maybe that one's not too bad. And this would be sign edition add. I don't know what that is, signed means, but there we go, that works. Okay, so now we need to do the side. And the sides probably are fine with the way they're laid out, maybe. But we may want to do something to make them a little bit brighter for sure. I'm going to go ahead and move them still. So we're going to come over here to the move and just see if we can, oh, that's the wrong one. Come over here to the move and see if we can just move it around a little bit, get something a little bit different. Now, we've already done what we like. The front and the side should probably be really close. In fact, I think I need to turn this back up a little bit so it's brighter. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to copy this layer by holding Alt and dragging it on top of the sides here. And then I'm going to mess with this mask again. And this, since I already have a mask in here, all I have to do is say copy mask, and then click in here and say paste into mask. And now I've got the sides the same way, and maybe I'll turn these way down. But now I've got a board that looks like it's, well, it's been lacquered with the brighter colors on one side and stuff. It's not perfect by any means, but we're just trying to get used to this program. And that should do it for now. And that's your homework.